Network. This is Sportsline.
Hey there, Sportsline on your television. Steve Lehman here with you. Glad you are here with us on this Monday night on News Channel 5 Plus. As always, our phone lines will be open tonight. 737-7767, the number. Lots to react to from this weekend. Number one, the Titans continue to put together their coaching staff. Dean Pease, Matt LaFleur both spoke last week. We'll probably hear from them coming up on the program tonight, maybe a little bit tomorrow night as well, as they start to influence what this team is going to look like. And the most interesting thing to me, from what I heard from those two gentlemen last week, was when you talk about the Titans offense, and let's face it, all of the moves that the Titans made this offseason, whether it be the decision to move on from Mike Mularkey, whether it's hiring these coordinators, hiring some of the other assistant coaches, all of the decisions are about Marcus Mariota. They're about this offense that had such high expectations going into this season and didn't live up to them, frankly. You know, the Titans get to the playoffs, they win a game in the playoffs, get to the final 8 in the NFL, but this was supposed to be one of the most high-powered attacks in all of the National Football League this year, and it simply wasn't. Marcus Mariota did not build on what was a sensational second year in the NFL. Took a step back this year. I don't think that's all on him. I think a lot of it had to do with the injuries. First in the offseason, coming back from the broken leg, then a couple other injuries they suffered during the course of the year. But he didn't take that next step. The offensive line struggled because of them struggling. The running game never really got going. DeMarco Murray obviously faced injuries in his own right. And that receiving game just really wasn't there. Rashard Matthews was okay. But after that, Corey Davis obviously was out for the first half of the season because of the hamstring injury. He finally started to emerge late to give you the threat that you thought he might even be able to give you somewhat of a look from when you draft him number 5 overall. Taywan Taylor didn't quite get into that mold. Eric Decker was fine, but not nearly what you hoped to be when you grabbed him in free agency last summer. And so ultimately what you had is you had a unit collectively, for all of the different reasons, that did not excel in the way they were expected to, that did not take this team into one of the elite levels of the National Football League. The expectation going into the year was the Titans' offense is going to be stout. This is going to be an offense that's going to be a force to be reckoned with, led by one of the best young quarterbacks in the league. And because of that, many people thought the Titans could win the AFC South. They could win 10, 11, 12 games and fight to make a real dent in the playoffs. It's a credit, frankly, to them that they still got to the playoffs, that they won a game in the playoffs without taking that next step offensively. But they certainly left points and they left yards on the table. They left progress on the table offensively. And I think when you look at all of these moves in the off seasons for the Titans, it was about Mike Mularkey not willing to bend, not willing to adjust, and make the offense what's best for Marcus Mariota. And then I think the other part of it is just the desire to open things up. Exotic Smash Mouth only got this team so far. And could they have run the course a little bit longer and seen if they could take the next step if you avoid the injuries and some of that? Sure. But this is sort of a what have you done for me lately and we need to win now sport in the National Football League. And I think John Robinson, I think ownership wanted to see this offense open up. They wanted to see it expand, and they want to see Marcus Mariota used to the best of his abilities. And I think there were questions from fans. I think there was questions from Robinson and ownership whether that happened under Mularkey. And so you get rid of Mularkey, you go out and you find a new coach in Mike Vrabel. And the number one question that gets asked there is, Mike Vrabel, what's your offensive coordinator situation going to look like? He gets Matt LaFleur, a guy who's never called plays, but a guy who has a great pedigree, having coached with Kyle Shanahan and then moving out to L.A. to be under Sean McVay. Two of the best, brightest young offensive minds in the game, two of the best play callers in the game. Now he gets his shot to prove that here in Tennessee. He's been a good worker with quarterbacks. Matt Ryan was an MVP in Atlanta while he was there with Shanahan and with LaFleur. Jared Goff went from a total bust in his rookie season to a guy who was a Pro Bowler that led the Rams to a division title and a playoff berth under McVay and LaFleur in Los Angeles. So there's a track record there from LaFleur. He's going to have to learn on the job in terms of being a play caller, but he knows what offense and successful offense in the NFL looks like today. He knows what successful quarterback play in the NFL looks like today. So those things I think you get excited about. And the biggest thing that I took away from what I heard him say last week was this. He is willing to adapt. The offense is not set in stone. He's going to set it around his skill set and the players that he has, and he's going to bounce things off of Marcus Mariota. What do you feel most comfortable in? What do you not like to do? And how can we help him out? So if that means they need to run more no huddle, I think you're going to see them run more no huddle. If that means that they need to throw the ball more and open up the playbook, I think they're going to do that. If he needs to run Mariota more, I think they'll do that. If he needs to protect him more, I think he'll do that. I think he has an idea of what he wants to do offensively here, but I think he's willing to evolve. And that was probably the biggest complaint that you saw when people wanted to criticize Mike Mularkey and Terry Robisky and the old Titans regime when it came to offense is, will you evolve? Will you adapt to what the NFL is doing and what teams are doing against you and put your quarterback in the best situation? Matt LaFleur, I think, is going to do that. So we'll hear from him coming up on the program tonight. Also over the weekend, we had a monumental day in Nashville as Nashville SC played the first ever professional soccer game here in the city. First Tennessee Park, man, it was a monsoon. The conditions were nasty. But you still had basically 10,000 fans show up, a complete sellout for a game against an MLS squad in Atlanta United. We're still 2 years away from having an MLS team here in Nashville, but you had an MLS type of game on Saturday. Atlanta United, one of the most expensive team in the MLS, one of the highest scoring teams in the MLS comes in here, and you had this group of minor leaguers put together basically a few weeks ago, come out and give them a battle. They end up losing 3-1, but there were highlights in there. The atmosphere was fun. And for anybody who's waited a long time to see professional soccer in Nashville, the moment they blew that whistle and kicked the ball into play, it kind of got the dream in motion. This has been a quick process from long shot to reality to having a soccer franchise. Still some more steps to get to be the MLS team that they will ultimately be in a couple of years when they open the brand new stadium at the fairgrounds. But to just have that moment where you had the big names of the MLS and you had soccer being kicked around on a pitch, even if it was a converted baseball diamond, on Saturday was really special for sports here in Nashville. And it's only going to get better. In fact, today we found out that the overwhelming support and interest in Nashville SC means that they're going to move their regular season home opener, which is March 24th against Pittsburgh. That game has now been moved from First Tennessee Park to Nissan Stadium because they want to be able to sell more tickets and make sure that anybody that wants to get inside the building to witness history, the first regular season home game here in Nashville, and be a part of Nashville SC in the inaugural season, is going to have that opportunity on March 24th. They're also going to do that later in the summer when they take on FC Cincinnati. So the interest level is there, the excitement was there on Saturday, and now we'll see where this run goes. College basketball over the weekend, Tennessee laid an absolute egg at Alabama. Rick Barnes was so frustrated he benched his starters in the second half to send a message. This has been a team that has been so consistent in their effort and in their defense. And Saturday they just got outworked by a desperate Alabama team that needed a win on its home court. What you see is Tennessee's really good. When they battle and they defend, they can play with anybody. This is a wide open season in college basketball, and Tennessee can play with anybody. What you also saw, though, is Tennessee is not good enough to take possessions off. Certainly not good enough to take games off. And on Saturday, they just did not show up. And Alabama took it to them. 78-50 was their final score on Saturday. So a learning lesson for Tennessee, but still, hey, great opportunity left. You got 6 games left in the regular season. Tennessee should be favored to win them all. That's how good this team is and the opportunity in front of them. Even with the loss, the NCAA Tournament Selection Committee released their top 16 seeds yesterday, a month out from Selection Sunday. Tennessee on the 4 line as a 4 seed right now, with time to improve on that and hopefully move into Nashville and the pod system here. So a lot in front of Tennessee to play. SEC chances maybe dimming a bit. Auburn wins over the weekend. Still just 2 losses in the SEC. Tennessee now with 4 losses, tied with Florida for 2nd place. There's time to make that up, but not a lot of time to make that up. So we'll see how they go down the stretch. But most importantly for Tennessee, a chance to play for NCAA tournament seeding and really set yourself up. I mean, the potential is there to go Nashville to Atlanta through a regional. And that would be fantastic if you're a Tennessee Volunteer supporter. Other big news from the weekend, Middle Tennessee continues to roll. That's 12 of 13 games. They're on top of Conference USA. Nick King named for the 4th time this season today as the Conference USA Player of the Week. He had 32-11 in Saturday's win over North Texas. So the Blue Raiders continue to be a force in Conference USA and look to be another team to watch out for when you get to March in the NCAA tournament once again. Belmont bounces back with a win at Tennessee Tech. And how about TSU? 6 straight wins for Dana Ford's team as they're inching up the standings in the OVC. And I don't think Murray State, and I certainly don't think Belmont, who they beat last week, and then Jacksonville State, who they swept on Saturday for the season series. I don't think those teams want to face TSU come March, come the conference tournament. So some interesting stuff here as we turn our attention into February college basketball. The Predators wrap up their road trip up in Canada. They beat Montreal in a shootout 3-2 on Saturday. Pekka Rinne, absolutely phenomenal. He stopped 47 shots, including 10 in overtime, then 3 more in the shootout. As the Preds won, they end up with 6 of a possible 8 points on this New York to Canada road trip. It wasn't the best hockey they've ever played throughout the whole thing, but remember, they had no Philip Forsberg for the first 3 games because of the suspension, and they still come up with 6 points on the trip. 4 games go to overtime, and you manage to walk away with 6 points. You'll take that. A couple of wins, a couple of overtime losses. You will take that on the road every time. Now you come back home. You got the Blues in town tomorrow night. Chance to sort of dig your heels or dig your skates back in to the Central Division against a rival. Expect the intensity to go up. Second half of the year now, every game is a dogfight for teams either battling for a division title, battling for seeding, or just battling for their lives and the chance to get into the playoffs at the end of the year. The Preds are in a good spot, but there's no time to take your foot off the gas because everybody in that Central Division is in contention. And so every game from this point on out is going to be a dogfight. And then finally, the Olympics underway over in Pyeongchang. The Americans with 4 medals to this point, sweeping gold in slopestyle. Got a couple of big golds already there. Red Gerard, the 17-year-old, youngest American male to win a gold medal in 90 years. Jamie Anderson does it on the women's side. You got the figure skating team finishing 3rd. So some good performances so far, but a bit to catch up on. Canada, Germany, the Netherlands, all with 7 medals so far. Norway out in front with 9 at this point. So the U.S. needs to ramp it up a little bit, but we're starting to get into the spirit of things. I said it last night on Sunday Sports Central that it just seems like these games snuck up on us this year. You know, you got the playoffs around here. You're moving into college basketball season. Hockey's going well with the Predators. There's just a lot to look into. And then all of a sudden, bang, here's the Olympics. And are you ready for it? And I think more specifically to here in Nashville, normally we'd be talking to Predators players who would be getting set and now taking off to go over to compete in the Olympics. And this year's Predators team would have a bunch of them. I mean, Pekka Rinne would be in goal for Finland. PK Subban's probably on the blue line for Canada. Roman Yossi's playing for Switzerland. He's probably the team captain. Kevin Fiala might be playing for Switzerland. Philip Forsberg's playing for Sweden for sure. Maybe Matthias Ekholm. So you have several Predators players who would be playing in a normal year in the Olympics. But the NHL, of course, decided that they did not want to take the stoppage mid-season. They did not want to send their players to Pyeongchang for these Olympics. And that has not sat well with several guys around the league because, look, it's your opportunity. It's your opportunity to go and fight for your country. And the NHL is such a world league that there's some real bragging rights when these guys go out there and put on the Finland sweater or the Swiss sweater or the Canadian sweater, U.S. sweater. There's some real bragging rights to that. And to not have the best players in the world, the pros from the NHL, go is disappointing for those guys. It's a missed opportunity. And certainly they feel that now. Instead, you stay here on the ice. But because of that, to me, we haven't had that preparation with those guys in talking about it because they're not going. And so Nashville's closest tie really to the Winter Olympics would have been all the Predators going to play in hockey, and they're not going. And because of that, it's just taken some of the steam out of it. Now you're going to get these stories like Red Gerard, the 17-year-old who wins the gold medal. Jamie Anderson doing it again, and the skating team that did it last night. You're going to see these stories continually pop up, and like it always does, people who aren't household names are going to grab your attention and make you want to put on the red, white, and blue and cheer for America. That's just how it does, or how it goes. And that's great. That's the Olympic spirit, and that pulls us all together, and it's fantastic. But in terms of the excitement going into the games, mine was probably at an all-time low. Just because the names that I most know, the things I look the most forward to, because the thing I look the most forward to is the hockey. And so now you're not going to have the best players in the world competing for that. And that, I think, is disappointing as a fan. Phone lines are open, by the way, 737-7767, the number. We want to hear from you tonight. Any of those topics you want to dive into, we can dive into on the program here tonight. So first, let's say hello to Brian. Brian, good evening. You're first up on Sportsline.
I'm first.
You are first.
Hey, I heard the skating team, they already had the team competition, which is pretty early, and I can't believe they finished already, and USA got the bronze. Is that right?
That is exactly right.
Yeah, those girls did a pretty good job, huh?
Yeah, guys too.
Oh, did the guys win the bronze or the girls, or was it a combination thing?
Whole combination.
Oh, they put them all together and they add up all the points. That's pretty good. I was watching that more than I usually do, just because I wasn't sure what the skateboard on the snow thing was. I guess I don't watch the Winter Olympics enough. I know that's been there for years, Brian. But where do the ski jumping ones go where they jump really high there? And the one where they ski and they shoot, that's a weird one. And I watched the curling. And is the luge, the bobsled, what's the difference between the luge and the bobsled? Or is the luge the thing the bobsled guys go on?
The luge is generally a one-person thing. The bobsled is a multi-person sort of team thing. But they're both track sports at the Olympics. But all these things come up over the next, 2 weeks. You've got...
The girl who was winner of the votes to carry the flag, I guess she won the coin toss, and I guess she already won a medal in the individual bobsled luge thing.
I don't believe that has happened yet.
But she's in the running for a medal, and the guy who lost the coin toss, who was crying about it, is out of it already, from what I heard.
Yeah, I can't honestly speak to that for you, Brian. There's a lot of different athletes over there supporting the U.S., and you got medal events that have already happened, some that obviously are still to come over the next couple of weeks. So we have several events to watch over there. And look, it's a fun time of year to get into that. And names that you did not know before last week are going to become household names over the next couple of weeks, and that is part of the fun of the Olympic spirit. We got to take a break. We will come back. When we do, we'll hear from some of those Preds, by the way, about not going over there and also where this team is right now as they start the second half and really the second half push in the NHL season. Back with more Sportsline after this.